The following films all exhibit and deploy differing yet distinct tricks to have you hoodwinked, whilst giving you all the clues to work it out for yourself, or even completely subvert your expectations of what might happen, blowing your mind in the process. So let's not waste any more time and get to it, folks, because I am Gareth, this is What Culture, and it's time to look at 10 devious ways movies tried to trick you. Number 10. Painting a picture and plot, Midsommar. Movies that foreshadow or even downright spoil their endings at the beginning are nothing new or uncommon. But what about giving away the entire plot from start to finish? Enter Ari Aster. Aster has become a household name in Hollywood due to his short but stellar filmography, showcasing horrifying imagery, immersive storytelling, and surrealism within short and full feature film formats that have become distinct trademarks within his work. Hereditary and Beau is Afraid are prime examples of this, but perhaps not as prudent as his 2019 folk horror Midsommar. Boosted by a standout performance from Florence Pugh, Midsommar is quite something to behold. With that said, and in true Ari Aster fashion, the film is packed to the brim with visual clues and references, and there is perhaps no greater example of this than the tapestry in the film's opening shot. It may be easy to overlook on a first watch, however it's a brilliant sneaky tool from Aster to paint a picture for the viewer of what is to come. Major plot points from the film are secretly featured, including Dani's sister and parents' death, her breakup with Christian, and the events that unfold before her unveiling as the May Queen. It's evident to see the foreshadowing of the plot in hindsight. However, the mural depicting the film's plot from start to finish could also be interpreted as showing the events of the film are pre-planned to fulfill the prophecy. Number 9. Ed Spills the Beans, Shaun of the Dead. The iconic Shaun of the Dead is hilarious, horrifying, and a bit heartbreaking, showcasing Edgar Wright's wealthy arsenal of cinematic techniques that make him just so well revered and respected in this industry. You'll know you're watching an Edgar Wright film here for a lot of reasons, but his fondness of foreshadowing may just take the cake. It's a ploy laced throughout Shaun of the Dead, but there isn't a word spoken or action delivered that is as timeless as Nick Frost's Ed sneakily telling Simon Pegg's recently dumped Shaun and the viewer the entire plot of the film. We'll have a Bloody Mary in the morning, a bite at the king's head, a couple at the little princess, stagger back here, and bang, back at the bar for shots. With Mary acting as the first zombie Shaun and Ed encounter and eventually kill in their garden, Shaun's stepdad Philip is then bitten as they attempt to save his mum and later Liz, before they act like zombies to make their escape to the Winchester. They then swap shots for gunshots to fend off the waves of the undead. It's a scene that may have gone over many people's heads during a first viewing, with most being tricked into thinking they were just hearing a plan for a typical night out. But once discovered, it only makes the film all that more memorable. Now I want to know, what is your favourite horror comedy of all time? Is it Shaun of the Dead or something else? You let me know in the comment section down below. Number 8. Blank Space, Memento. Memento has the feel of a film that can be wholly appreciated but never fully understood. The film follows Guy Pearce's Leonard, who attempts to put the pieces together regarding the death of his wife and find her killer while suffering from anterograde amnesia, a form of short-term memory loss. It's a truly fascinating concept that only a mind as brilliant as Christopher Nolan could concoct. Like many of his other films, Nolan's Memento is jam-packed with multiple twists and turns, but one that continues to stump many is the blank space Leonard is pointing to in a Polaroid. We know that this is where he told Carrie-Anne Moss's Natalie he would get a tattoo after killing John G. However, the area remains blank for the majority of the film, until a perceived flashback scene showcases the space Leonard points to above his heart, with a tattoo saying, "I've done it." The trick here is that it's almost impossible to know if it's real or not due to Leonard's amnesia, but also the guilt that means he lies to himself to avoid confronting his demons. Was it a flashback? Was it removed? Is Leonard now also dead? There are infinite possibilities, and due to Nolan being reluctant to give his thoughts on ambiguous moments in his movies, we'll probably never know for sure. Boo! Number 7. Ran Out of Luck, Uncut Gems. Benny and Josh Safdie's Uncut Gems is an anxiety-ridden, stressful, and exhausting experience from beginning to end. It's as chaotic as it is crazy, and it's solely worth watching due to Adam Sandler delivering his greatest performance on the silver screen. Sandler is tasked with carrying the film and audience on his back as Howard Ratner, a gambling addict and jewelry store owner in New York City who bites off more than he can chew as his debts begin to catch up with him. The beauty of Uncut Gems is that apart from the gorgeous gorgeous cinematography and colour palette, it really feels like Howard is gonna get away with his life intact. No matter the insane bets he puts down or near-death experiences he endures, he just continues to ride his luck and dance with the devil. However, karma is indeed a bitch. The Safdies lay the bait with the audience taking it, reeling us into thinking Howard is almost gonna make it out alive, until Keith William Richards' henchman Phil's patience finally runs out, and shoots Howard in the head during the film's finale in a genuinely jaw-dropping moment of madness that ultimately calls back to his threat toward him at the start of the film. Number 6, are you actually watching closely? The Prestige. The Prestige undoubtedly ranks near the top of Christopher Nolan's best work to date on the silver screen. The film's final act features the incredible revelation and inevitable final twist from Bale's Borden, revealing to Jackman's Angier that he actually had an identical twin, as the pair took it in turns between being Alfred and his mysterious sidekick, Fallon. The twist is absolutely genius, but what's even more genius is how Nolan teases this throughout the film. There are lines uttered that hint towards this confession, including Borden saying at the start of the film, "We were two young magicians at the start of our careers. We never meant to hurt anyone." Nolan expects the audience to believe Bale's character is referring to himself and Jackman's. However, it is more than likely that he is talking about himself and his twin bro. Other possible clues come in the form of Borden's differing behaviour and moods towards Rebecca Hall's Sarah and Scarlett Johansson's Olivia, as well as Michael Caine's Cutter catching on to the fact of how Borden must use a double to achieve his transporting man act. But keep your eye on Fallon too, folks. Apart from this frame here that you can now see, Nolan keeps the character out of shot or focus for large portions of the film, and I wonder why. Cheers for watching this video today, folks. Hit that subscribe button down below for more of this what culture stuff in your day. Number 5, blink and you'll miss it, Fight Club. When it comes to Fight Club, there has arguably never been a more memorable or shocking twist than the reveal of the narrator and Tyler Durden being the very same person. A singular entity with a split personality, intertwined with twisted thoughts that offer our narrator a way out of his monotonous and mundane existence. Brad Pitt's Durden is nothing more than a figment of Edward Norton's narrator's imagination, a tyrannical and thrill-seeking alter ego that gives the nameless protagonist, or even antagonist depending on your stance, the license to commit the foul deeds he does with little to no consequences. Or so he thinks. But the signs were actually there for us to see, albeit very, very briefly. Director David Fincher leaves a paper trail of clues for his audience to catch onto, but one ingenious technique he uses is several blink and you'll miss it flashes of Durden as the narrator's sanity begins to unravel. The first is in the hospital, the second and third before and after meeting Helena Bonham Carter's Marla, and the final flash comes during Norton's narrator drifting in and out of consciousness whilst photocopying. After all, the narrator said it best in that nobody knows that they saw it, but they did. Number 4, the devil has many faces, literally, Zodiac. Who is the Zodiac Killer? Well, the short answer is, we still don't really know. The mystery surrounding the identity of the serial killer has persisted since his merciless reign of terror within the San Francisco Bay Area in the late 1960s. David Fincher's 2007 film offers a fascinating insight into the phenomenon that surrounded the killer, and the infamy he achieved through his cryptic letters and random killings, all through the eyes of law enforcement, the media, and the Zodiac himself. The film's long-standing admiration and appreciation almost 20 years later is due to a culmination of reasons, with one outstanding factor being Fincher's refusal to brand Arthur Lee Allen, chillingly portrayed by John Carroll Lynch, as the killer, unlike the adaptation's author, Robert Graysmith. Graysmith is the narrative nucleus of the film, played by an impressive Jake Gyllenhaal. In the book that the film is based on, Zodiac, the shocking true story of America's most elusive serial killer, Graysmith concluded that Allen was his man. However, Fincher opted to take a different route in his cinematic interpretation. Instead, he chose to have each supposed Zodiac killer that appears on screen be played by a different actor, allowing the audience to come to their own conclusions regarding who may or may not be the real Zodiac. The decision to do so not only played into the mystery of his true identity, but also exhibited the possibility of copycat killers, or that there were, in fact, multiple Zodiacs. Creepy stuff. Number 3, Scorsese spells it out for you, Shutter Island. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of clues that hint at Shutter Island's incredible twist, in that Leonardo DiCaprio's Teddy Daniels is not only a patient of Ashcliffe Hospital for the criminally insane, but he is also the self-perceived murderer and arsonist Andrew Ladis, the man he has been obsessed with pursuing due to the part he played in his wife Dolores' death, played by Michelle Williams. Of course, it's easier said than done to talk about these clues having watched the film beforehand. We as the viewers struggle to dissociate and distinguish fact from fiction during the runtime, so we rely on Daniels/Ladis to determine this for us, without knowing he actually can't himself. Factors such as the invisible cup, Mark Ruffalo's Chuck's discomfort around guns, the guard's general unease around Daniels/Ladis, and relative reluctance to search for the escaped Rachel, and how, for at least the first half of the film, DiCaprio's character is unable to light a cigarette himself due to his fear of fire. But as Daniels and Ladis become one singular being, he begins lighting matches with complete ease, all secretly point towards the disturbing truth. We're given the tools by Scorsese to uncover said truth, but we're just unsure what to do with them, and that makes for a devious ploy from one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Kudos, sir, great stuff as always. Number 2, there's no happily ever after, La La Land. Damien Chazelle's La La Land is without a doubt best described as unique, in the sense that not only does it have the feel of a film that should be watched at least once in a person's lifetime, but it also boasts tremendous and equally rewarding rewatch value other flicks don't have the pleasure of possessing. Acting under Chazelle's masterful direction, Emma Stone's Mia and Ryan Gosling's Sebastian attempt to explore and harness the complications of falling in love, whilst trying to make it in their respective professions. What follows is a will they, won't they, as Mia's ambitious acting aspirations and Sebastian's struggling jazz career clash in a complex collision course of choosing love or their livelihoods. But the trick is that this isn't your typical love story. Chazelle expertly subverts the historic cinematic trope that love results in a happy ending. La La Land deploys and exhibits a fairy tale feel, but this is almost certainly not the case, and the film's finale makes that abundantly clear. After a rollercoaster ride of emotion and passion, we as the audience and viewer have come to expect that Mia and Sebastian would live happily ever after, when in reality they find happiness in their personal and professional lives away from each other. Genius, but heartbreaking. Number 1, James Bond can't die, right? No Time to Die. James Bond is a character cemented in cinematic immortality, or so we thought. Speaking figuratively, Bond's legacy will never die as there will always be more Bond films. However, speaking literally, that's certainly not the case, as Kari Joji Fukunaga's No Time to Die proved. As it turned out, the final installment of Daniel Craig's Bond billing was well worth the wait. And although audiences were shocked at the sight of 007 meeting his almost impossible to have imagined demise, the warning signs had been there in the past. Previous portrayals of the character had appeared immortal, but Craig's iteration was very much, well, mortal. Craig had made a big effort to make his portrayal of the character human, relatable, and most importantly, vulnerable. And this is shown in his multiple close calls with death, ranging from his near-fatal poisoning in 2006's Casino Royale, to his shooting and perceived death in the opening sequence of 2012's Skyfall. So when it came to closing the chapter on his 007, audiences were faced with not just one slap in the face, but two. Not only were we tricked into thinking Bond could never die due to the character's cinematic history, but the title of the film, No Time to Die, lied to our faces too. As it turned out, he actually had all the time in the world to die. Now roll the damn credits.